to episode 90 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Monday, April 6th, 2020. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting, crocheting, and sewing to share with you all. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. I am currently hosting a make-along over on Instagram, which is called the Make 9 2020 Mal, and that is for you to join in on the Make 9 challenge, where you choose 9 patterns that you would like to make within the year of 2020, make a grid and post that on Instagram, and include in that post the hashtag Make 9 2020 Mal, and that will enter you into this make-along. Then you can also post any progress pics or finished objects of the projects that you are making this year from your Make 9 list, and that will also be an entry into this make-along. I would love to see the different projects that you're hoping to make and any progress that you're making on those projects that you've set for yourself. It is a year-long make-along. WIPs are included, so if you have outstanding works in progress that have been going on for any amount of time that you want to finish up this year, please include those. And then also any craft is included. So you can do knitting, crocheting, weaving, spinning, any kind of craft, sewing, anything that you would like to do is certainly welcome and encouraged. So I'd love to see the different projects that you would like to make this year, and please don't hesitate to join in on that make-along. I've really enjoyed seeing all the different projects that people are working on and all of the beautiful projects that they are hoping to make this year as well. I will be drawing prizes for that make-along periodically throughout the year, and I am going to be announcing a prize winner on this episode for that make-along, so stay tuned a little bit later for that. I have a few finished objects to share with you all today. The first one I am wearing, and I was so pleasantly surprised to be able to finish the Nightshift shawl for my friend Tina. I wasn't really expecting to finish it yesterday, but I had a full day of free time to knit away as much as I pleased, and so I was able to finish this. I wove in all the ends last night. I wet blocked it and I put a fan on it overnight, so when I woke up this morning it was already dry, which was fabulous. So I'm so pleased with this. Like I said, this is a gift for my friend Tina from church, and I am so pleased with how it turned out. I used several different yarns from my stash and one skein of yarn that Tina gave to me to use in this shawl. Well, actually, I gifted it to her first, and then she gifted it back to me and said, she said she'd like me to make something with it, which I was overjoyed to do. So I decided, instead of using worsted weight yarn, which this pattern calls for, which by the way, it is the Nightshift shawl by Andrea Mowry. And instead of using worsted weight yarn, I decided to hold 2 strands of fingering weight yarn together to create more of a DK weight. And then I just continued with the pattern until it was the size that I wanted. I just mixed and matched the different colors that I had to create more of a marled look throughout it. And I'm so pleased with how it turned out. I did use the recommended needle size, which were US 8 5mm needles. And my gauge turned out a little bit looser than the recommended. I think the recommended gauge is about 20 stitches to 4 inches, and I got a gauge of 17 stitches to 4 inches. But I'm so pleased with how it turned out. It's such a beautiful fabric and design. So I'm going to stand up and show it to you because it's huge, so I want to be able to show it to you in its entirety. Ta-da! Isn't that great? I'm so pleased with it. I think it's so beautiful. I'm surprised that you can still see through it, even though it's, it feels like such a thick fabric when I hold it. But it is still pretty lightweight, I guess, overall. Isn't it enormous? Before I blocked it last night, it was exactly my wingspan. And so it did grow quite a few number of inches there, which I was happy with because Tina wanted it really large so that it would be really easy to wrap around and not fall off. it also lengthened quite a bit. So when I wear over my shoulders, it reaches all the way down to the back of my knees. And Tina is about the same height as I am, so yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm so happy with it. I love the colors in it, and I just think it's so beautiful. It's so cozy and comfy to wear this way as well. I love it. So great. So it is mosaic knitting, which was the first time I've ever done mosaic knitting, and I really enjoyed it. I love it so much. So pretty. So the majority of the yarns that I used are my own hand-dyed yarns. I do have a few Knit Picks tweed or Stroll tweed and some other sock yarn. I don't remember exactly. Premier, I think it was Premier brand yarn. And then I also, the one skein that I got from Tina was Borrego, and that is in this section right here. It was kind of a burgundy variegated color. It is so nice though. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I am so pleased with it, and I know Tina will love it too. So she has been able to see the progress of it, you know, as I made it, and has expressed how much she loves it. So I'm so excited to be able to gift this to her. So I will just hang on to it until I get to see you. I'm so happy with how it turned out though, and it was such a joy to make. I just thoroughly enjoyed every single stitch of this project. It was so enjoyable. And the final product is just fabulous. I love it so much. Okay, so my next finished object, which this one, like I said, I just finished last night. These I've had done for a little while. I finished them pretty, like the next couple of days after I last podcasted. But these are so beautiful too. There's quite a contrast here. This is springy colors. In fact, this colorway is called Spring Rainbow, and these are so autumnal. But anyway, this was a test knit that I did for Kay Litton, who is the Crazy Sock Lady. She has the Crazy Sock Lady podcast and also has Crazy Sock Lady Designs. And this is her Rainbow Connection socks that I test knitted for her. And I used a sock set from Desert Vista Dyeworks in the Spring Rainbow colorway. So that came with 2 50-gram skeins, one in the natural color and then one with the self-striping colors that you can see there. This was such a fun pattern to work up. The stitch is a 4-row repeat, and so it just keeps you engaged, and then the color stripes, it was just so enjoyable to make these. I really, really loved working on them. I used a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I made the medium size, which is a 64 stitch count for these. The ribbing is 2x2 for 20 rows. I mistakenly did the repeat of the pattern 3 extra times on the leg before I did the heel flap and gusset, which I was a little bit worried about because in testing, Kay was a bit concerned about having enough yarn with the 50-gram skeins. And I have a bit of a larger foot than she does. I wear a US 9.5. And so anyway, I was a bit worried that I was going to run out, but thankfully I did not. I had not very much left of the contrast, the natural color. I only had 8 grams left of the natural color, but I still had plenty of I had 25 grams left of the self-striping yarn. So anyway, these socks are also designed to use up scraps of yarn if you would rather do that instead of using a self-striping yarn. So last time I recorded, I put in the description that they were called the Scrappy socks because in testing that was I didn't realize that wasn't the final title of these socks, but she decided to change the name to Rainbow Connection socks, which I love. So anyway, it does have a heel flap and gusset, as all of Kay's sock patterns do, and that is just perfect for my foot. It fits so well, and a rounded toe. I love them. I think they're so great, and I highly recommend this pattern. It would be so fun to, I mean, you could just have so many varieties of color combinations, and I think it's a fun way to use up some more self-striping yarn. And a lot of times when you use self-striping yarn, of course you have a bit left over, and this only took 25 grams of the self-striping yarn. So I could still make potentially another pair using a different contrast color or another skein of natural if I wanted to. So that's great. And yeah, I think it's so nice to be able to use up scraps or different self-striping bits of pieces that you have around. All right, a few more dishcloths I was able to finish. In fact, these are the last of my dishcloths that I'm going to be making for a while anyway. I used up all of the full skeins of cotton, worsted weight cotton yarn that I have in my stash. So all I have left now are scraps of cotton yarn that I am going to be putting into the Scrappy blanket that I'm using my cotton yarn with. So I was able to make 5 more dishcloths. I use a free pattern online called Grandmother's Favorite Dishcloth. It does not have a designer. It is just a free pattern online that I will link to in the description box. I modify that in that I use a US 6 4mm needle, and then I go up to 52 stitches before I start decreasing. I used Knit Picks Dishie for all of these dishcloths. This is in the Honeydew colorway. I have 2 in the Clarity colorway, which is just a real light gray, and 2 in the Creme Brûlée. So I'm super excited to have used up all of my cotton yarn and to now have a nice stash of ready to gift dishcloths available. And yeah, I probably, once I finish my Scrappy blanket, I'm assuming I will still have some bits and pieces of cotton yarn left over, and so I may make some more Scrappy dishcloths down the road, but that will be quite a while because my Scrappy blanket is going to be in the works for quite a while, I think. I haven't worked on that since I recorded a podcast last, so it's going to be kind of a long-term project, I think. The next finished object I was able to make is this adorable little Scrappy pouch. I used a tutorial online that Erica Arndt came out with a few weeks ago, and it is called the Quilt As You Go Zippered Pouch. I have used Erica Arndt's sewing and quilting tutorials to make project bags and to learn a few techniques for quilting, and now for this. So I highly recommend her channel. She has also started podcasting. She has just a few episodes of knitting, crochet. She does spinning and then sewing and quilting as well. So it's super fun to check out her podcast if you're interested in that as well. And I really enjoyed working on this project. So I have never done anything that is quilt as you go, and I was really quite, I had no idea how it worked, but it's so simple and so easy and really a lot of fun to put all the different fabric scraps together into a project. It's so fun. Okay, so I did modify the pattern a little bit. I made mine smaller than what she had just because the only zipper that I had in my stash at the time was a shorter zipper than what she had. I think it was like a 9-inch zipper. And so I was just using what I had, and so I made it a little bit smaller, but I really like the size of it. It is a nice size for notions. And I also added a larger strap to the side. In her pattern, she just has a tiny little piece of fabric on the side, but I wanted one that you could actually, hold if you wanted to. And then it's lined, and I was so excited to have inserted this zipper because zippers are they can just be daunting, I think, for me anyway. And my favorite part is this little fabric tab that's on the edge here of the zipper. I just think that's it looks so nice, and I'm just really happy with how that worked out. So I'm super happy with this, and I have one more to show you that I forgot to grab, so I'm gonna go grab that right now. I also helped my daughter make one. So here is hers. I had this bright purple zipper in my stash as well. And so she was happy to use that along with all of these fun scraps of colorful fabric. So she did all of the quilting lines, and I think that it is so charming how fun they are. You know, they're not perfect, nor are mine, but I just really love the charm of the crooked lines on hers, especially. And inside it's lined with this pretty pink floral fabric. So she is so happy with this, and I am so proud of her. She did such a nice job. I helped insert the zipper, but she did, like I said, all of the quilting. She picked out all the fabrics and where they were placed and put them all in herself. So I was just standing over her and helping her guide the fabric a little bit. But when she was doing the quilting, I really wanted her to be able to do that on her own because I knew it wouldn't matter if it was perfect or not. So she did such a good job. She's 9 years old and hasn't sewn a ton. I've helped her sew a dress quite a while ago, but other than that, she hasn't sewn very much, but she really does enjoy it. So hopefully we'll be able to do some more projects like this down the road. It does require a bit of patience, of course, to work with children in sewing, but I'm so happy that I was able to help her make this. Oh, and then to go with this little pouch, I decided to make a project bag in the same manner. So I made this drawstring project bag, and it's coordinating with this using many of the same fabrics. And this is going to be the prize that I am going to give away for the Make 9 2020 Mal for this time. So the winner will receive both the project bag and the little pouch. The project bag is lined with some vintage fabric, and it has a pocket on the inside, and it is drawstring. So I thought this would be a really fun prize to receive. So I went ahead and drew a random number, generator number, and then went through the Instagram post to find the person that lined up with that number. And the winner is Nicole. Congratulations, Nicole. She is Cause Cozy Crochet on Instagram. And this is not the first time that you have won a prize from joining in on one of my make-alongs. So thank you so much for joining in again, and congratulations to you. If your address hasn't changed, I probably still have it. So I will try to get this in the mail to you as soon as possible. I can't guarantee how quickly that will be, but I will try to do it pretty quickly so that you can get this bag and start using it. And I hope that you really enjoy it. So those are all of the finished objects that I have to share with you for right now. I did do a bit more sewing, and so I'm going to be doing a shop update with some more project bags that I was able to make. So I will show those off at the end of the episode, but for right now, those are all of the finished objects that I have to share with you. Also, I'll move on to my works in progress. The first one is in this Tanny Casey project bag that I love, and it is adorned with some beautiful enamel pins from the ladies of Nice a Knit. And in here is the Rauli shawl that I am working on for another friend from church. This is a gorgeous pattern by Amelie, and I started this shawl the day before I started the night shift. And I just reached the halfway point on this shawl. So I'm really proud of how much progress I was able to make on this since the last time I recorded. Here is a progress keeper marking where I was. So if you've tuned in before, you know that I haven't been making this much progress from podcast to podcast, but I set myself a goal of trying to get to that halfway point. And so I just decided to do 12 rows a day. And that was so, I'm going to keep that up because it just made it grow so quickly, and it was great. And now I'm going to be decreasing, and so hopefully it will go even faster to get through those 12 rows. But anyway, I am so in love with how this is turning out. It is just a work of art. I love it so much. So it will be symmetrical and it will just be repeated, but with decreasing the stitches now. I've read ahead a little bit, and the decrease stitches for this brioche section, trying to decrease in brioche looks quite involved. The stitch for doing the decrease is like a paragraph, just doing that one decrease stitch. So I'm a little apprehensive in trying that out, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll get through it. I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn for this project. The main color, or the forefront color here, is Honest, which is a tannish background, kind of a brownish, light brown tan background, and then it has speckles of deep plum and brown. And then I'm using, for the contrast color, Night, which is just a solid black. Both of those are on a fingering weight yarn, 75-25 merino wool nylon blend. So I'm so pleased with it. I'm using the recommended needle size, which are US 6 4mm needles, and all of the needles that I use are ChiaoGoo red lace. So yeah, I'm really loving this. It's just gorgeous. Here is the back side. Equally stunning, right? It's so pretty. I love it. So I'm going to continue to work on this pretty, I'm going to try to keep focused on this project so that I can get it done pretty soon. We'll see. This is the 5th project from my Make 9 list that I made for gift knits that I want to make this year. So I decided to make 2 Make 9 boards, one for personal projects for myself, which I haven't made a very big dent in. I think I've only made 1 project off of that list, but this is my 5th project off of the gift list that I made. So that's exciting. But this one has been on the needle since January, so I would really like to, stay focused on that and get it done in a reasonable amount of time. My next work in progress is in this beautiful project bag that I received from Trisha from Joy in the Stitches. And I love it so much. And in here is another test knit that I am doing for Audrey Borrego, who is known as Yarn Flakes. And I've made quite a bit of progress on this. I had just started it last time I recorded. So I only had, I think, like an inch maybe. And I hadn't joined in the round yet either, I don't think. I was just doing the back row, or the back of the neck, the short row shaping on the back of the neck, I believe. So I have now joined in the round, and I'm working on the raglan increases. This is a top-down sweater, as you can see. It is made using fingering weight yarn. I am using Knit Picks Stroll in the Midnight Heather colorway, which is a real deep teal. It has these beautiful cabled details on the raglan increases. You can see there. And that's all the way around on all of the raglan increases. And then those little cables continue along the side seams and on the cuffs and the ribbing at the bottom. So it's a really beautiful design. I am using a US 3 2.5 millimeter needle. No, 3.25 millimeter needle. That's really hard to see on those needles. I just put it on this, I'm knitting it in the round on shorter circular needles, but I just put it on this longer needle so that I could try it on. And it's fitting really well. I'm really happy with it. It's got a nice close fitting neck, which I'm really excited about that. I think I'll like the fit of it a lot. So there it is. There's my progress. I really love the color of this yarn. That's showing it off really nicely. It's so pretty. So I'm super excited to continue working on this. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever test knit for Audrey, but I'm super excited about it. I just, like I said last time, I really admire her designs. And she also has a podcast called Yarn Flakes that I love watching as well. Okay, I only have one more work in progress to share with you all. And that is my Hexi Scrappy Afghan that I've been working on for many, many months. I should have looked when I started it, at least last year, but I think I started it back in 2018. Anyway, it is a very long-term project, but lately I have been adding at least one hexagon every day in the morning. That's the first thing I've been working on, and I've really enjoyed doing that, and I'm going to continue doing that because it has just allowed me to make progress on this, because it has been, you know, in the works for a long time, and I really want to have this done before I die. It's just going to be such, I think I probably want to make this a pretty large blanket, and it's going to take a long time, even if I do add a hexagon every day. But I have made another full round around the outside of it, and I think I'll have to stand up to show you this one as well. So here it is so far. I love it so much. Oh my goodness, it's so cool, isn't it? I'm just using all fingering weight scraps, and it takes the tiniest little bit to make one of these little sections. So I can use just the tiniest little bit, especially the third round. I use one color for that, and it takes less than a gram of yarn. So here's a better up close of it. And I love it. I really enjoy picking out 3 colors that kind of coordinate together for each hexagon, so that they're kind of their own little tiny, you know, it's fun to play with the different colors that are being put together. But other than that, I really don't pay attention to, you know, the color placement. I just try to make sure I don't have 2 colors that are exactly the same right next to each other, but so many little tiny scraps are going into this that's pretty easy to do, to not have colors next to each other that are matching. I love it. I love this project so much. It's so fun to work on, and I just love looking at it. I love seeing all the different colors in it. So fun. I'm using a clover hook, which is a C 2.75 millimeter. And I love working with that. This is my own pattern. I didn't use a written pattern, but you know, you can find lots of different Hexi patterns. Emma from Potter and Bloom recently just started one that's very similar to this, and she put a link to the pattern that she's using on her blog, I believe. So you can definitely check that out. I will also link in the description box the pattern notes that I have for what I'm doing. So you can certainly reference that too, or ask me if you want to make this exact pattern. But it's just my own pattern that I came up with. But I love it. It's so fun, so enjoyable to work on, and I just love how it's turning out. I'm crocheting over my ends. I'm joining as I go, so that makes it really nice and easy. So even the back is nice and tidy. And I don't have any problems with these ends popping out. So I'm really happy with that. I think it really does help that it's a tighter gauge. You know, it's all fingering weight yarn. And so I think that really helps. If you get into, like I said last time I recorded, on the cotton blanket that I'm making using worsted weight yarn, the ends pop out more easily on that blanket. But I think with fingering weight, since it's a tighter gauge, it just holds the stitches better, I think. So anyway, I've really enjoyed working on that, and like I said, I'll continue working on it, and then I'll just show it off on the podcast whenever I make another full circle. I just continue working around the hexagon until it gets to be the width that I want it to be. I'll just continue working around that hexagon shape. So I'll continue showing it off whenever I've made a full hexagon. So that is all I have to share with you as far as the regular content of the podcast. Like I said, I have been sewing a bit more, and I was able to make some more project bags that I'm going to be putting into my Etsy shop. If they're not in the Etsy shop already, they will be within the next day or two, as soon as I get all of the photos uploaded to the Etsy shop. So please stay tuned on Instagram. I will be sure to post on Instagram whenever I have updated the Etsy shop. But I'll go ahead and show you what I have to put in there. The first one I have to show you is this beautiful floral print. And I thought it was so fun to work with this fabric. It was just so cheerful and beautiful. I really, really love this fabric. It's more of a canvasy duck cloth, so it's a bit of a thicker material up here on the top as well as the bottom with this kind of a tweedy green. On the inside, I have 4 of these bags total. 2 of them have this light green leafy material. All of the bags have a pocket inside, and they're all drawstring, and they're all this exact same size. A really good size for at least 3 skeins of yarn could fit in there easily. And then the other 2 of this floral fabric have more of a yellowish green fabric on the inside. And for each of the bags, I decided to go ahead and make notions pouches that coordinate with them. And so for these bags, I was able to make one in the solid fabric. And this one has the light green leafy fabric on the inside. It has a pink zipper. And then I was able to make 3 more that are more of patchwork style, the quilt as you go style like I made on the other one. And just using up scraps because I didn't have any more full, I didn't have enough of the floral fabric to make any more notions pouches, but I was able just to piece these together, and I think they're super fun. So there's these 3 different styles of these, and they have different lining. This one has a plain green lining. This one has white. That's kind of, it's got a bit of a print on it, but you're not gonna be able to see it because it's too bright. Kind of, you can. It's kind of got a paisley print on it. And this one has the yellowish green lining. Then the next bag I have here, I have 4 of these as well. And I love this print. It's so fun. It's got these sweet little deer on there and little bunny rabbits. And they're set in this woodland scene. And I also really like this fabric that I have on the bottom. It's kind of like an upholstery fabric. It's really soft but thick still. And I just had a bit of a scrap in my stash. I don't know where in the world I got this from, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere. I don't know where it came from, but it worked really well with this fabric. And I just had enough to make 4 bags. On the inside, they're all lined with this kind of a light brown colored fabric with these little X's on them. And I was able to make 4 of the little notions pouches to match. They're all like this. They're not patchwork at all. They're all just the solid fabric, and they have the matching lining on the inside. I am going to be selling all of the notions pouches separately from the bags, but if you wanted to have a set, of course you could. But I'm going to sell them separately in case people don't want the set. Okay, the next one I have is this fabric, which is really cool looking, I thought. And this is also more of a canvas material. This one has a graphic black and white printed inside. This pocket, I just feel like I need to note though, is pieced together. I didn't have enough of this fabric to make a pocket, so I had to put a seam down the middle of it. So you can see that the fabric doesn't match up perfectly. And in all of these, I do just want to note that if you are so kind to go through my Etsy shop and pick one of these out, I am not an expert sewer. I mean, I try to do the best I can, but when I look at them with my detailed eye, I can find imperfections in each of them. So I don't know. I just feel like I need to preface that because, I don't know, there's just, little things that are tiny little details. I mean, I made sure that they're all really well made, but my stitches aren't always perfect. And anyway, but I really like this fabric. And this one, I did another pieced matching notions pouch. I love those. I think they're so fun, and it's so gratifying to be able to use up all those tiny little pieces of fabric. This one is lined with this black and white striped material. But again, they're going to be sold separately in case you don't want them, but they make such a cute set, don't they? They were so fun to make up. Okay, I have 2 of this fabric available. Really classic look, I thought. And they're both lined with this, it's like almost like a handkerchief style fabric on the inside. And I have 2 patchwork notions pouches to go with these as well. They're each a little different. Have the same lining as the bag. And this one. I was excited to be able to use up these little wooden tags that I've had in my stash for so long, and I don't think I've ever used them. I got them originally when I was making hats. I think I was going to put them on some hats I was selling in my Etsy shop, but I don't think that I ever did, or maybe just a couple of times. But anyway, I have a big stash of those, and they worked really well to put on there. So it just has the initials of Noble Character Crafts kind of in a artistic way. And then the last 2 are super fun, I thought. I just have one of each of the last 2 here. So I just have one of this one, but it's such a sweet fabric. I love the colorful trees. And then it's got foxes, birds, and squirrels. Yeah, there's a little squirrel right there. And it has a light gray bottom, but it looks like white, but it's actually like a real light gray. And then the inside is this blue polka dotted material that I thought coordinated so well, especially with this little tree right here. So I really like this one a lot. And it has a coordinating notions pouch with the same lining and a bright pink zipper. And then the last one has this fun fabric that has little woodland creatures on it as well. Deer, squirrels, raccoons, foxes, and a hedgehog. So I really like this one too. And it is lined with this turquoise polka dot material. And again, a little notions pouch. So I've had a lot of fun working on all of these, and hopefully you guys will enjoy them as well. I just had so much fun working them up, and had a lot of fun sewing lately, and I hope that it keeps up because I just go through phases of sewing and I love it so much when I do it, but then I get out of the habit of sewing and I don't want to do that. I want to keep up at it because I just really enjoy it. I love it, but I don't know why. It's just not quite as relaxing as knitting or crocheting because I'm not as good at it as I am at knitting and crocheting because I don't do it as often. So I want to keep it up so that I continue to improve. So anyway, hopefully you all like those, and like I said, they should either be in my Etsy shop now or within the next few days, hopefully. I wanted to recommend a few more knitting podcasts that I enjoy. I have, been able to watch more of them, and it seems like I've been watching them quite a bit, but people have been coming out with so many episodes, which has been so nice that I haven't been able to keep up. I'm like a week behind on my podcast, but that's great. I love that. There's been a few times when I've gotten caught up on my podcasts, and then I'm like, what do I do now? Because when I'm knitting, I just love to watch knitting podcasts. So anyway, the few that I want to share this week are, the first one I really want to recommend is called Made by Britsy, and that is hosted by Brittany. She is based out of the New England area, and she is a new mom, and I just absolutely love everything that she makes. She both knits and sews, and she makes beautiful garments and does beautiful knitting as well. I just really love her style and the things that she makes, and her personality is so sweet. She is just such a joy to watch. I really love watching her. She doesn't come out with podcast episodes very frequently, but like I said, she is a new mom, and so that's completely understandable. But when she does come out with new episodes, I love them, and I highly recommend checking out her channel. The next one I want to recommend is Craft House Magic. She is pretty well known, but I just have to recommend her because she is such a joy to watch. She just exudes positive energy, and I cannot you just constantly she brings a smile to my face every time I watch her. She's just so funny, and she has this mannequin that she calls Barbara, and she talks to Barbara, and she's just got such a fun, joyful personality that I love. And she does tons of different crafts. She does knitting, crocheting, sewing, quilting, bobbin lace. Really, really recommend watching her channel as well if you don't know of her yet. She is truly a joy to watch. Her name is Ellie. Last one I want to recommend is Constance of Stitching Over the Days. She is another one that the garments that she knits are just incredible. She also sews a lot, and she is such an inspiration for making a handmade wardrobe. I really, she has more of a vintage style that I love, and she is really very, very talented. So I highly recommend her as well. And she is also just another one that's super sweet and fun to watch. So those are 3 of the podcasts that I have really enjoyed, and I hope that that gives you a little bit more, a few more podcasts to check out if you haven't already. And I hope that you enjoy them. So we've been doing really well the last couple of weeks. Nothing really new to report. Things are per usual for us pretty much, besides, you know, not going to church and things like that, which we greatly miss. But, you know, nothing, like I said last time, our life is pretty normal. This is kind of our normal lifestyle, staying home a lot. So nothing too major has changed. The weather has been beautiful lately. The kids have been able to play outside so much. Everything is turning green, and that's really refreshing to see. And yeah, we've just been doing our normal thing, which, yeah, we've been doing great. So no complaints from here. We're doing well. I hope you are all doing well as well. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. I would appreciate that so much. I hope you all have a great couple of weeks ahead. Take care. Bye.